Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I was kind of hoping for a bigger crowd, but I'm thinking that operational analytics is a bigger draw than convergence right now. So we'll muddle through anyway. I think we have some great content and hope you think of some great questions. My name is Paula Hollywood. I am the senior analyst at ARC Advisory Group, and I'm going to talk a little bit about ITOTET Convergence and how that closes the asset lifecycle management loop. So I'm going to, as I said, give a brief overview. We're going to have two speaker presentations, and then we have an extremely large panel that, as I said, I hope you have some good questions for. So as we start here, certainly manufacturing automation and technology has evolved. It's a bit of an understatement, isn't it? And, but my point with this slide actually lies in the beyond column. So if we jump all the way over to the right over here, I see a lot of engineering kind of stuff in that column that does not appear in the earlier versions, and with the exception of process automation in the 80s and 90s. But things like augmented and virtual reality requires an appreciation of engineering. IT and engineering certainly have to collaborate, and a digital ecosystem is required. So certainly a lot of collaboration, and all of these disciplines have to work together if we're going to move forward with the industrial Internet of Things. So why is it, if we have all of this information converging, that getting holistic insight remains a challenge? So the consequence of not achieving the convergence, in my opinion, is that the time to resolution is affected. So from an asset management perspective, it leads to the inability to answer the questions who, what, when, where, and how of asset failure. Because the trend is truly towards interconnectedness. The convergence is about creating that connected data environment that is really so critical for us going forward. The vision of the industrial Internet of Things, at least in my opinion, cannot be realized without it. From an asset management perspective, it starts with data collection and aggregation and integration to create context for data for creation of the virtual models. It requires data cleansing. Garbage in, garbage out still applies here, so you have to have good data to begin with. It requires data governance as well. It's also the application of analytics that allows us to make discoveries that previously were not possible. And it also enables a better visualization, of what the data is telling us. So for my perspective, when I talk about ITOTET convergence, I think most people understand about the IT and the OT, and there's been little debate about that. But at some level, perhaps inclusion of ET or engineering technologies has been implied in this convergence conversation. But moving forward, I don't think it can be that way any longer. It has to be expressed as its own domain. And for this reason, and in my not so humble opinion here, omitting ET from the convergence conversation will hamper an organization's ability to optimize performance. And I'll admit that I've been resistant to this change, but I've seen the light and I've become a convert. I've tried the HoloLens, I've tried the DAQRI helmet. I know that they're coming. I know that they're not quite ready for prime time as well, but I'm optimistic that it will be. Oh, and for the record here, I didn't say this, and I should actually. When I talk about engineering technologies, if you didn't get that from the conversation this morning, engineering technologies is about the technologies used to create the virtual models that we'll all be using a lot more in the near future. There are a wide range of technologies now being employed in either operations or maintenance to improving performance, create this virtual environment, introduce the industrial Internet of Things. ARC believes that the big payoff in all of this will come when companies begin to operate in new and collaborative ways across the entire enterprise. Okay, but we have some key differences in these domains. So I've listed a brief description under each of these. But what is important going forward is that each must have an appreciation for the other functions. The relationship must be more than peaceful coexistence. The three must coalesce into something that is ultimately greater. Whoops. Wrong way. Thank you, Will. That is ultimately greater than the sum of its parts. It's characterized by constant change and innovation. OT is change and risk averse. ET straddles the two domains, in my opinion. And it is what the ET domain must make the IT and the OT convergence gel. And I'm going to share with you something here that I think supports this position. And if he's not with us today. And the reason I picked this quotation in particular is because I just happened to read it as I was getting my presentation prepared. And so I read an interview recently in a publication, at least a web publication, called Strategy in Business and Business with Bill Rue, the CEO of GE Digital. And he states, in the industrial company of the future, there won't be a separate IT department. Top leaders will understand digital innovation in the same way they understand finance and accounting today. They will design digital technology into their products and their practices. To me, that last sentence has engineering all over it. He goes on to state, we're also going to change the way we design products. When a product is used, operational data will go right back to engineering and R&D. And if you think about it, when we first talked about reliability a few years ago, maybe even a decade now, the ultimate goal of reliability was to design for reliability, that DFR. So to take those lessons learned in the operate and maintain phase and build them into our new products and systems. And he's saying the same thing here. The further quotation is, the engineers will change products at a faster rate because their designs will go right into manufacturing. With additive manufacturing, 3D printers and digital fabrication, which are engineering technologies, we'll be able to enhance products at rates we couldn't before. Those are foundational changes. The industrial internet, or Industry 4.0 as some call it, is powered by data analytics-based and physics-based models coming together. There's that inclusion of IT, ET, and OT, in my opinion. And according to Bill, the killer application for the industrial world is the combination of analytics-based and physics-based modeling. We can predict a problem before it occurs and allow you to maintain it at the optimal rate and cost. It's just a big prize here, so I think it's worth pursuing. Convergence addresses business challenges. We can read these here, and there are a number of them here. I'm sure you can think of some of your own that aren't even listed. And as we go forward and start employing some of these technologies, some more will emerge as well. Will convergence solve all of these challenges? Not necessarily, but will provide a better methodology to address them. So why is IT-OT, ET convergence an important path to IIoT? And as you can see here, and as I stated earlier, I believe that the engineering technology is going to reside in the middle of IT and OT. so it really should be ITETOT. Its role is more critical than ever to manufacturing. The value of asset data to the organization over the asset's life cycle is actually, in my opinion at least, exceeding its value to the organization, at least in terms of initial investment. IT, OT, and ET professionals who previously oversaw their own individual systems must now have an understanding and appreciation for their counterparts' technologies. IT professionals must be able to transfer their experience to the enterprise, network convergence, and ubiquitous use of internet protocols in manufacturing applications. OT professionals must be able to migrate from yesterday's islands of information and automation to today's plant-wide information-centric architectures to enable the secure flow of information throughout the manufacturing enterprise and beyond. ET has a foot in both domains and uses IT to improve OT. Case in point. So, IT-OT convergence enables the digital transformation. Again, it won't be realized without convergence. We can now collect data from anything and everything, do it more frequently, and store it and process it relatively cheaply. Industrial manufacturers, producers, energies, and utility companies are beginning to recognize this as a new set of technologies and business practices that are poised to disrupt their existing markets. This will lead to more efficient competitors, new and different business models, and new competitors in the marketplace. I think those of us who are here at this conference in particular, we want to be the disruptees, not the disrupted. We want to be prepared for this. Otherwise, I don't think you'd be here, quite frankly. Well, and the industrial Internet of Things is accelerating convergence. With IIoT and adoption of cloud-based technologies, the gaps between domains are converging at a much faster pace. For example, this morning Mr. Bartusiak from ExxonMobil talked about the open process automation. And it will be a contributing factor, I think, as that initiative goes forward. As it takes shape, we'll see a whole lot more of this convergence, I believe. Well, this doesn't want to work. Okay, so the industrial Internet of Things is about thinking of things differently. New service models for equipment, redefined work processes enabled by connected assets, new production techniques by improved real-time information, new workers, new expectations. So again, from an asset performance management perspective, if I can go back to Mr. Rue again from GE Digital, it's about predicting a problem before it occurs and allow you to maintain it at the optimal rate and cost. From a PLM, which is a product lifecycle management perspective, operational data will go right back to engineering and R&D, and it's about designing digital technology into their products and practices. So I think this is really happening. GE Digital certainly is not the only company to talk about this. We have companies in this room. Bentley Systems actually have been talking about this for a long time. And they're going to give a nice user presentation as well.